I don't think were you yeah. Yeah, I thought
That's the way she's going to
no, this one's already unblockable. Oh, okay. Like a couple of few clicks. I don't know. I sign 1 year at a time. I don't know 1 year. I have to sign your girl, but I will. It's nice to sign. That's cool. The what? I got a party spot, man.
Okay. So welcome to EE 225B. Title of the course is Digital Image Processing. My name is Abida Zakor. I'll be handing out a hard copy of this information sheet to everyone. It's also on our class webpage. As it turns out, the course admin took the wrong information, so she's redoing it and bringing it to the class in like 5 minutes. The class website is this. Oh, thank you. I just announced that you. Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure everything is correct. Ah, that's the right version. Thank you. So let me pass this along. Okay. Does everyone have a information sheet now? Okay, great. So I'll just go over the information here, and then if there's any questions, we'll get to those. So as I said, the class website is this. Check it out frequently for any announcements or homeworks or other things. Before I go through the information sheet, I'd like to get a quick show of hands. How many of you are undergrads? 1, 2. And how many are grads? And how many are neither, like visiting from somewhere else? Okay, just you also? No, just you. Okay, where are you visiting from? Right, I got your email. Okay, very good. And the undergrads, did you guys receive an email about the time change? sometimes at the end of December, moving the class to 9:30 to 11? Okay, and how did you figure out it's a different time?
I came to the door and I saw it.
There was a sign outside this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And you never received that. And the grad students, you never received such an email. Okay. There's been a mix-up about the time. There was a thought to change it, but then Rujna Bachi decided to teach the biomedical image processing course also Wednesdays and Fridays. I forgot, overlapping with 9:30 to 11. So we just decided to keep 12:30 to 2 slot, even though it's really not my favorite. And many people either ate, in which case they're sleepy afterwards, or they're hungry, in which case all they can think about is food. So it's not the most optimal time slot, but I think we'll just stick to it for now. So the class meets here Wednesdays and Fridays, 12:30 to 2. How many of you have taken a class in this room before? Okay. So there's a couple of things I'd like to mention. First of all, as you can see, the way this room works is there's an operator there that takes a picture of me, whatever I write on the board, or if I just sit down and write on a piece of paper on the table on the desk, it gets projected on these TVs and these TVs, so you can. So that's how you figure out what's going on. The course gets videotaped, and I believe maybe I can ask the operator. It doesn't get real-time broadcasted, does it?
It should be webcast live. It will be webcast live and archived.
Okay, so it's webcasted live and it's archived. But please don't abuse this by not showing up. It's not very fun to teach to a room of like one student. Okay, I would never know if that student is super smart. I can just go really fast speed and nobody else would understand. So do show up and participate in the class. The other thing is there's a microphone to your right. Okay, so you need, every time you ask a question, you need to pick up and use the microphone. The camera will not go your face. Nobody would know who you are. So your privacy is maintained. But that way, when the course is recorded and I answer a question, somebody is watching the tape. Let's say you yourself couldn't make it to the class, you're watching the tape at night, you know what the question was. Okay, so as a courtesy to the fellow students who are watching the stuff offline, or for yourself, if towards the end of the semester you wanted to watch one of the lectures, it's very important that when you ask a question, use the mic. It's difficult to remember at the beginning, but I promise you, it'll become a habit in like 2 or 3 lectures. And so the beauty of it is that you can watch the lectures offline, or you can watch it real time from your office in Corey or wherever your office is. Now, I must warn you, based on my understanding of other students who've used the real-time broadcast, is that the video quality is not as high as if you just watch it later when the course is finished and the file has been stored on a disk. And hopefully by the end of the semester you'll understand the technical reasons why that is. In terms of real-time broadcast, it has a lot more technical challenges than something that's been pre-recorded, finished, and sitting on some hard disk. So the class does give you that flexibility. There might be a Wednesday or a Friday during the semester that I might not be able to make it to this class, and if I don't find a substitute, we might move the class to Monday, but I'll usually announce that way ahead of time so you know. If you can't switch to Monday, then you can always watch the video of the course. So that's another advantage of this room. It gives us a bit of flexibility. How many people have conflicts for 12:30 to 2? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll try to. At this point, I don't have anything planned. This one there's nothing that's imminent, but if it does, I'll give you plenty of advanced warning. So going through the list here, my name is Abid Zakour. My office is in 507 Corey Hall. My phone number is extension 3-6777. My email is written here, avz@ecs.berkeley.edu. Office hours are right after the class on Fridays from 2 to 3. Teaching assistant is Cindy Liu. She's sitting at the... Why don't you stand up? her office is, her research office is in 307 Corey Hall. Um, and her extension is 31587. The department might give her an actual TA office. Have they told you what it is? Not yet, but I'll announce that later, and it'll be on the webpage. Her office hours, TA office hours are, and this should have been on the sheet, but it's going to be on the web. So make sure this information gets on the web, right? It's Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30 to 5 p.m. So there's no discussion or section or anything like that for this course, but simply we'll give you a lecture. But her office hours have been designed so that they're immediately before the day the lectures are given, or homeworks or lab assignments are due, so that any questions you might have on the homework or on the labs, she can help you out, sort all these things out. The course assistant is Rosita Alvarez. She was the lady who just walked in and handed in the handouts. Her office is 253 Corey. Her extension is 34976, and her email is rosita@ecs.berkeley.edu. It turns out the lab assignments and the homework assignments will be posted on the web. But as a matter of policy, I don't provide the solutions on the web. So those will be handouts, and you can either pick it up from class, or if you don't pick it up from the class, you can go to Rosita's office. She's there from about 8 to 4:30 every day, and you can pick up. And also any old problem sets, graded problem sets that you didn't pick up, you can pick up from her office. Okay. Before I move on to the text and stuff, are there any questions on the base administrative type stuff? Okay. Textbooks. So there might be a little bit of confusion on that as well. So I have traditionally taught this course using this book, The Two-Dimensional Signal and Image Processing by Eennlb. This is a fairly old book. I think it was done in the 80s, if I remember correctly. It says 1990. That must be the second edition. But I used it as a grad student in the mid-80s. Now, we're going to use, the course is kind of organized in two parts. The first 1/3 to maybe 1/2, not quite sure, will be more on two-dimensional signal processing, 2D filter design, a little bit of computer tomography, etc. And then the latter 2/3 or maybe 1/2 will be on straight image processing. I think you need to know something about signal processing and the ways in which 2D signal processing is different from one-dimensional signal processing before we can do image processing. I really felt that this book is too old to address image processing. So another required book is this book, Digital Image Processing by Gonzalez and Woods, that's straightforward image processing. So the second half of Eennlb's book is on image processing, but it's a bit outdated, so we won't go through that. Rather, we'll go through this. Now, I understand that it might be too expensive for all of you to buy two books, so you're welcome to come up with any creative scheme to reduce the cost. If you only have budget to buy one book, I would recommend that you buy this rather than this. I will post just the problem sets out of this. The first maybe 4 problem sets will be out of this thing. But again, it'll probably be difficult. It'll be good for you to have this book so you can read the material, so you can do the problems accordingly, etc. How many of you have gone to ASUC to buy the book? Okay, is this available?
I actually went to Ned's.
Uh-huh.
They had that one, and they also had the MATLAB.
Okay, did they have this? Yeah, I just told the department to order this, so it should be there shortly. So I'll wait till this book is in stock before I assign a substantial amount of homeworks or anything like that out of it. Maybe the first homework is not due, well, this Friday, but maybe the following Friday, or maybe later, just to give enough time for this book to arrive as well. Okay? Then there's a host of other books that I've listed here that are kind of recommended. Number 3 is a handbook of image and video processing by Al Bovic. It's Academic Press 2000. It's really what it is lots of different chapters, each written by a different person. There's always a bit of a danger in those kind of books. It's good in the sense that you're getting the different viewpoints about a topic, like the image enhancement. You've got 5 chapters by 5 different people on 5 subspecialties of image enhancement. So that aspect of it is good. It's bad a little bit because some holes could be there, some inconsistencies in notation come up, becomes a little bit more difficult to follow. But nevertheless, I have it in my office. It's a worthwhile book to have. The other classic in the field is by Netravalli and Haskell. Barry Haskell, they were both at Bell Labs when they wrote it. As you know, there is no Bell Labs to speak of today. Barry Haskell moved to Apple. He's at Cupertino, and I think Arun Netravalli is at Georgia Tech. But anyway, their book is called Digital Pictures, and it's a pretty good book. The other book that's a classic in the field is by Bill Pratt, who at the time he wrote it, he was at USC. Now, well, he moved to Sun, was there at Sun Microsystems for many years, but he's somewhere in the Bay Area now. And there's many editions of his book, and I believe it has 2 editions or 3 editions already. That's also a classic. And then if you just want to have a book on video processing and not image processing, Murat Tekalp, who is at the University of Rochester, just published a book. Well, 95 was okay, so it's not just. It's already 9 years. Digital video processing by Prentice Hall. Other useful references: Dudgeon and Merceau. This is pretty old. 1984 is at least 22 years ago. It's multidimensional digital signal processing. There's a bit of an overlap between that book and this book, and Jay Lim's book, but this is more updated than Dudgeon and Merceau. Oppenheim and Schaefer, that's the classic DSP book that we teach in EE 123. Tom Wong has a book on 2D digital signal processing, pretty old. It talks a lot about filter design, something that we won't emphasize too much here, but just touch upon. Tom Wong is at the University of Illinois. Then you got Mitra and Ekstrom, and Mitra is at UCSB, Santa Barbara, 2-dimensional signal processing, pretty old again. Gonzalez and Wintz, digital image processing. Andrews and Hunt, pretty old, 1977. Andrews, pretty old, 78. Schreiber's book is worthwhile having. He teaches at MIT. He's now retired, of course, but he deals with more with electronic imaging systems. And Jane, Fundamentals of Digital Image Processing, he was at UC Davis. He passed away actually a year or 2 after he wrote the book. So, outline of topics that we go over. We'll start with a little bit of overview of systems and signals and LTI systems, and maybe just one lecture at most. Then we talk about image reconstruction from partial information. That could be either from Fourier transform magnitude or from Fourier transform phase, the ways in which image reconstruction is different from one-dimensional signal reconstruction. Talk a little bit about computed tomography, which is actually a topic that's probably covered at a lot more depth in Ruzhna Bachi's course, because it's used a lot in medical imaging. Talk about 2D Fourier transform or Z-transform, 2-dimensional DFTs, FFTs, FIR, and I say here IIR filter design, but we probably won't touch IIR filter designs. It turns out that in 2D signal processing, you don't use IIR filters too much simply because you can't prove their stability, and and therefore people just don't use them so much. Then they move on topic 4 onwards, or just image processing. Basics of it: perception, enhancement, restoration, super resolution, image and video analysis, classification, segmentations, edge detection. Talk quite a bit about compression and coding for both still images and video. Talk a little bit about communicating image and videos that have been compressed over various networks, kind of multimedia networking. We'll talk a little bit about rendering and halftoning of images and videos. Talk a little bit about acquisition. And then, if there's time, we'll talk about different applications. We almost never get to topic 14. Instead, different students who are interested in different applications choose a topic to do their projects, and I'll talk about that a little bit more now. So there's homeworks approximately once every week or once every 2 weeks, depending upon the synchronization between the lectures and the homeworks and the labs and other things. The homeworks can be either written assignments or they can be MATLAB assignments or just pure C programming. They will be graded. Yeah, they will be graded and they'll contribute 70% to the final grade. Yeah.
I'm like pretty familiar with MATLAB, but I would consider myself like kind of a novice or beginner in C, and I was wondering if that's going to be like a really big problem.
I was going to get to that in just a second to check people's backgrounds. Just hang on for just a second. Let's see. So homeworks that are late will not be accepted unless you've discussed it ahead of time with me. And then there's the remaining 30% of your grade, and you can do one of two things. If you have a particular mini project in mind that can be done over a semester, you can do that and then write a term report, project report by the end of the semester. If you choose that option, by end of February, you're supposed to hand in your 2 or 3 page proposal as to what you want to do. I don't want you to give me a proposal that on a project that requires 2 years for completion. You really have to specify what you think you can get done in the time duration of the course between now and May, and say I'll show this, and this, and that's it. Or if you don't want to do a project, you can pick an area of interest, and I'll give out suggestions later on in the semester. I'll give you a sheet of possible topics you can choose from and areas. So you can pick an area and do a literature survey, read the latest papers on it, kind of describe what you think the state of the art is, discuss the advantages and disadvantages, pluses and minuses of the existing schemes or approaches in the literature, and then end your paper by essentially that's like a critique of the papers you've read. This paper was good, but the method has these deficiencies, this paper is bad or good, or this builds on top of this, etc. So critique of the papers, and then end the paper by saying, if you were going to do research in that area, what do you think are the open problems, and how would you approach it? It doesn't mean you go ahead and do it and program and generate results. It doesn't mean you do all of that, but kind of a conceptual thinking of if you were going to do research in that area, what are the things that you would do. So I will make a suggestion of the topics that you might be interested in doing your research on, and towards beginning of February or in a couple of weeks. There is a conference on image processing, International Conference on Image Processing. The proceedings of that is online. As I'm sure you all know, you have access to what's called IEEE Explore, right? Does everybody know that? No? Yeah, on your computers on campus, and maybe even at home if you've set it up properly, you can have access to the database of all the IEEE papers. International Conference on Image Processing is an IEEE conference. I checked to make sure that all the last 4 or 5 years of the papers in the conference courses are online. So that would be a good way of figuring out what goes on in image processing, what are the hot topics, and figure out what area you want to do, either your project or your term paper. So before I go into any deeper, I'd like to kind of get a little survey of the people we have in the course. The class is small enough that we can kind of try to adapt it to your needs. Some of you might be, for example, already in bioengineering or some other field, and want to be doing research in that. I'd like to know how many bioengineers we have, how many mechanical engineers, how many electrical engineers, and kind of tell me in one sentence why you're taking the course. And that one sentence could be, I thought it'll be fun. That's good enough. It doesn't have to be a specific kind of technical reason. And while we do that, also, let me just pass along this sheet that to get your names, email addresses, and undergrad or grad, and then year that you're in. I'll pass this around if you can. If you run out of this page, just turn it around over the other page and add it on. So why don't and also just tell me how much of C programming experience you have, because there was a question that was just raised when we start. And maybe use your mic also.
My name is Yuanxi Chen. I'm working on the Eennlb decoder project, implement on FPGA board. So I choose to take this class.
Implement what?
Eennlb decoder.
And you're a grad student. Yeah. And you're building it on a chip.
FPGA.
FPGA. Yeah. Okay. This is for your PhD.
No.
Master.
I think it's a master project.
Okay. Who's your advisor?
Eennlb.
Okay. Very good. Yourself? And how much C programming experience you have?
Like 1 year.
Good. Okay.
My name is Vijay Ulal. I'm a first-year grad student
In EECS.
in EECS.
Okay.
I've done a project in speech processing, so I'm interested in DSP, and I figured image processing would be like an interesting class.
Good.
And C programming, I've had probably about like a year or a class in C programming.
Okay. Good.
Hi, my name is Galen Reeves. I'm also a first year in EECS, and I'm just interested in this class because I'm interested in image processing, and I guess I've had a decent amount of C programming experience.
Okay, great.
My name's Chris Anderson. I'm a first-year applied science and technology grad student, and I work up at the ALS, and we deal with tons of images, and I thought it would be...
What kind of images do you deal with?
Like biological samples and diffraction patterns, tons of different stuff.
And LLS stands for?
ALS, Advanced Light Source.
In the hills.
X-ray source. And I don't have a whole lot of programming experience in C.
Have you ever done it?
Yeah, I've written a couple basic things, but
okay.
I haven't had like a formal class on it. Okay. So.
All right.
Hi, my name is Howard. Currently working on a speech processing project at the ICSI, and that's DSP. So I guess I'm really interested in this whole signals concept, and plus I've done some image processing stuff in the past. I think this would be really interesting, and I've had plenty of C programming experience. So
what year are you in?
I'm the first year.
First year?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're working with Nelson Morgan?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I'm Sam Brandley. I'm a visiting scholar from Switzerland. Officially, I'm a graduate non-student here. This is my official status. I'm specializing in signal processing, so this is why I'm here. And I've done a lot of C programming.
And you come from EPFL?
No, ETH Zurich.
ETH Zurich. Okay, very good.
Hi, my name is Jimmy, and I'm a first-year vision science student. And I'm currently working in a project on image compression, so that's why I think that's a good project to take.
Do you work with Stan Klein?
Bruno Oschhausen.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I've had about 2 years of programming.
Okay.
My name is Casey Lee. I'm a first-year grad student in vision science. I haven't had much C programming experience at all. I had one undergrad course in it, and
that's one undergrad course on C programming.
It's C and C++, but I can honestly say I don't remember anything from it.
Okay.
And, but I like MATLAB a lot, use it a lot, and I'm a optics person. I work on ophthalmic imaging of the retina. And that's why I want to take this course, because there's a lot of image processing of the retina, retinal images.
And you work with Stan Klein?
No, Austin Rorda.
Okay. Very good.
My name's Robert Held, and I'm a first-year student in bioengineering. And I'm taking this class because I'm in a vision science lab right now that does a lot of stuff with new displays, so I thought it'd be good to have some image processing. And I've done Java, but I haven't done any C or C++.
Okay. You've done any MATLAB?
I've done a lot of MATLAB.
Okay. All right.
Hi, my name is Karthik Garg. I'm a fourth-year undergrad student in EECS, and I've done a course on C. I'm really interested in image processing because I like the course. The prerequisite to this course, digital signal processing. So I just
Oh,
wanted
so
to
you
see.
took it? You were in my class in the fall.
Yeah, I was in your class in the
Oh,
fall.
I see. You're one of those who always watched it online, right?
Well,
I mean, you wouldn't believe it. We had 40 students the first day, and by the last day of lectures, there's like 5 people. But there were still 40 enrolled, and 40 took the final, and all of those. But the attendance just went way down. So I have to come up with a scheme to motivate you to all attend the class. Like maybe we'll have an attendance, like 5% or 10% of your grade is attendance. Or
last
something.
semester I had a conflict because if you remember,
Oh, I
class time
changed it, right.
So that's why I couldn't make it to class most of the time.
Right. That's why I didn't want to change again, because a lot of the students complain about the last minute change. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And your name was once again?
Karthik.
Karthik. Okay.
Hi, my name is Gary Lee. I'm a second-year grad student in bioengineering, but I was EECS as an undergrad.
Uh-huh.
And right now, my interests lie in MRI type research, but I haven't really taken any engineering classes in 2 years, so I thought it'd be fun to do some signal processing again.
Okay.
And let's see, I've done a good amount of MATLAB programming, but very little C.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Min. I'm a first-year graduate student in EE. I'm taking this course simply because that's the area I'm most interested in. Yeah, and I don't know what exactly image processing I would do, but probably compression and some edge detection, that kind of stuff. I only took one undergraduate course on C. And yeah, I'm very comfortable with MATLAB.
Okay, very good.
My name is Mary. I'm a first-year grad student in EECS, and I am taking this course just to learn more about DSP. And I also have just had one undergrad course in C.
Okay.
My name is Prasad. I'm first year EECS, and I haven't really done much undergrad DSP in my undergrad, so I'm kind of like exploring right now. So I'm doing DSP, the grad level in digital image processing, just to check it out. And I've done some MATLAB and some C, but I'm kind of rusty. It's been a while.
Did you you did the prelims already, right? Did you do
No,
the prelims?
I'm going to take it in next fall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Hello, my name is Sergey Timofeyev. I'm a second-year grad student in electrical engineering, and right now I'm working on array processing, and that's the area I'm interested in. So that's what I'm taking.
Array processing as applied to wireless communication?
Right now I'm working on acoustic beamforming.
For what applications?
For like microphone arrays.
Oh, okay. Just okay.
With Professor Ahmad Bahai.
Okay.
So and then I'm interested in array processing, multidimensional.
Gotcha.
And I've written several programs in C.
Okay. Very good.
My name is Alan. I'm a second-year EECS grad student. I think I've pretty good experience with C programming, and I'm interested in image processing and video communication in general, and I'm taking this course just to explore it a little bit.
Okay, very good.
Hi, my name is Chua Hao. I'm a second-year grad student at EECS as well. So I'm taking this course just to get myself up to date with image processing again, and I'm fairly comfortable with C.
Okay, very good.
Hi, my name is Steve, and second-year graduate student in ME, and I take DSP as my minor, so that's why I'm here.
Okay.
And I've done a lot in MATLAB, and I think there were several courses in C programming in my undergraduate year.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kenneth. I'm a fourth-year undergrad EECS student, and I just kind of wanted to learn the two-dimensional versions of the Fourier transforms. And I have just one undergrad course in C, and I think I'm pretty good at MATLAB.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so depending upon how things go, we might or might not do much C programming. I think of the 5 or 6 lab assignments, 4 are MATLAB, and and maybe we'll do a simple C programming assignment, but not something terribly complicated. So even if you've just programmed, let's say in Fortran, which I'm sure none of you even know what it is, you could easily adapt to it and do the assignment. Generally speaking, though, if you're a researcher or a practitioner in image processing, MATLAB is good for prototyping, but it doesn't cut it when it comes to implementing systems. It's too slow, and at the end of the day, you have to convert it to C. So one of the things I always see among my graduate students when they start is that they've done a lot of MATLAB, but then when they go to grad school to do research in the field, it's the first time they do C programming, and they really have to learn it. So it'd be good to, even if you're not very good at C, it'd be good to use this course as an excuse to ramp up and speed up your C programming skills. But we won't make it too hard because clearly it's not a prerequisite for this course, and we don't want that to become the focus of the course. Okay, are there any any questions either regarding the administration of the course or the logistics or anything like that? Okay. Is there any let me do a few more question and answer things. To some extent, you kind of already answered it as we went along, but is there any one topic or topics that most of you are more interested in anything else? I mean, clearly, the field is big. We're not going to cover everything in it in this one semester. Is there like any burning requests to cover something, to make sure we cover X? Yeah.
I'm kind of really interested in like biometrics, like detecting faces and stuff from a huge database and fingerprints and things like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Okay. Any other requests or? Go ahead.
The image compression, because I'm really interested in the different formats and how they've come about evolved. So.
Okay.
Kind of like using like multiple cameras and using them together.
Yeah. Okay. Any other requests or favorites or anything like that? Okay. And the last thing I want to check is your background in DSP. So how many of you have taken a DSP class at the level of, let's say, Oppenheim and Schaefer? Oh, okay. Okay. And how many have taken it, let's say, just signals and systems, but not DSP? Okay, so were you undergrad at?
Yeah, I've done. I'm like an optics guy, so I've done lots of 2D transforms before, and discrete transforms and lots of stuff, and I've taken signal processing.
Okay, what textbook did you use when you took signal?
I don't remember. It was undergraduate level.
Right, Oppenheim and Schaefer?
I don't think. I took it at UC Davis. I don't remember
With Bernard Levy?
That might have been it, yeah.
Yeah, he would use Oppenheim and Schaefer. Okay. Or there were two other hands. Huh?
Yeah, I studied optics in undergrad, and we use like just optics textbooks. Like
but you never took like signals and systems or
nothing
DSP?
like that, I guess, but like from a more optics point of view.
Okay.
So
okay, you might want to watch the video lecture for E123. That I think still I taught it last semester, so you can. If you find that at least the first third of the course things are a little bit foreign to you and you don't know the notation and. Because the basic signals and systems class is a prerequisite for this course. It doesn't have to be 123, but kind of at least 120, which is Oppenheim and Wilsky, and then 123 is Oppenheim and Schaefer type level. Okay, so you use that as a resource, or consult with the book.
Okay.
Okay. There was one other hand. Okay, so you've taken signals and systems and. That's good. That's good. Okay, any other logistics things we ought to take care of? Yeah.
So would you recommend getting the digital image processing for MATLAB book? Or?
No, don't spend your money. Then it becomes 3 textbooks, and that will be $300 just to buy textbooks. So no, if the priorities should be 1 this and 2 the other one. If I do assign homeworks of the other one, we'll just make it available on the web, so you don't have to have the book. I've looked at the book. it doesn't teach you the fundamentals. It just teaches you how MATLAB works, essentially. The MATLAB image processing stuff works. Yeah.
So what if we do have the with MATLAB one? Can that replace that book, or should we get that book separately? Because on the bookstore it recommended the other book.
It recommended the MATLAB book.
The MATLAB book.
Can you return that?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, return that and try to get this, because I just ordered. Well, not just on Friday of last week. I told the department to also have the bookstores order this. Okay. Any other? How many of you have got, let's say, a textbook for this course already? Okay, so very few. Okay. And let me just quickly, one thing I didn't ask, how many people are planning not to take this course for credit? Or they're just listening for fun? 1, 2. Okay. And let me just put a dot next to your name. What was your name again? You didn't write your name down even. Okay. How do you spell your last name? Okay, I got you. Okay, so it's audit. Okay. Any other questions, comments, anything else? All right. I usually don't get into too much technical stuff in the first lecture, and try to kind of motivate a little bit as to why we're doing what we're doing. And let me.
If you want to, that little AV switch that's underneath the computer, if you hit that to position 1, that will show you the Dell, that will display the Dell computer.
Where is the switch?
It's underneath that little table that's right next to the 1 to display laptop, 2 to display Dell.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. And I'm just going to fire up I put, instead of bringing my laptop here, I just put some stuff online so we can just so I don't have to carry any back laptops or connect to the AV system. Oh my God. Okay. Does anybody know which is preferable? Okay. Yeah, I did choose Classic. Express, yes, that's faster. So many steps just to get the thing going. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'll refer to that in a little bit, but for now, I'm going to just take a note set from... Okay, and just about all the stuff I show you during the class, the scanned version of it will be available on the class website, which is this address, usually by the end of the day after the lecture. So you don't have to feel like you have to copy everything. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 2 things in today's lecture. One of them is basically differences between one and multidimensional signal processing. And then the second one is this PowerPoint that I just fired up. It has all the artwork in Gonzalez and Woods. And I thought it would be good to just talk about, chapter 1 of it is just introduction to image processing, why study image processing, and what are some sources of imagery. And so I thought it would be good to show you some of the, discuss a little bit about sources of images, where they come from, what are the image modalities, how does one generate, form an image or acquire an image, etc. But let me start with this first. So why are we studying image processing as a separate field? And actually, one of my least favorite thing about this class is that this screen blocks my view of this quadrant of the class. So I just raised my chair. Hopefully, I think the only thing that's chopped is Howard's face, but I think I can see most of you now good enough. Usually, I don't use the PC, and then I just flatten the screen. But today we're using it, so I won't do that. So here we go. So generally speaking, multidimensional signal processing. You have, if you can zoom in just as much as you can, thank you. We have a lot more data than one-dimensional signal processing. Let's just take speech as an example. I think some of you are involved with speech research at ICSE. So the human voice is I don't know, depending upon whether you're an opera singer or you're a normal person or male or female, but at most 10,000 samples per second is enough to capture the quality of it. Okay, that's how you sample speech. It's about 10,000 samples a second, and then if you compress it, you can do all kinds of speech compression technologies and squeeze it to as little as 2.5 kilobits per second if the need arises. On the other hand, if you just think of an example of a multidimensional signal, is television. And multidimensional, by the way, could be 2, 3, or 4. So an image is a two-dimensional signal. It has an X and it has a Y, right? Then a television signal is a three-dimensional signal because you have X, Y, and then you have a time aspect to it, right? And then you can even think about a four-dimensional signal. And how is that? Well, if you have a scene, which is three-dimensional at X, Y, Z, and that scene is changing as a function of time, then you have 4 dimensions. And you can think about sampling or capturing a two-dimensional signal, a three-dimensional signal, and a four-dimensional signal. Now, one of the things that's different about images than it is for audio signals, for example, or one-dimensional signals, is that if you have an image with X and Y coordinates, and each pixel has its own X and Y coordinates, the notion of causality goes away. On the other hand, when you have a time signal, let's say an audio signal, each sample is either before or after another one. So causality is a lot more alive and makes a lot more sense in one-dimensional signal processing. Now, if one of your dimensions, let's say in the television signal, is time, you can still talk about causality. This frame came before or after the other one. But coming back to here, if you think about the television signal, as you all know, the standard in this country is NTSC, which some people jokingly call not twice the same color, but we won't talk about that. So how does NTSC work? And then, of course, in Europe, it's PAL and SECAM, depending upon whether you're French-speaking parts or maybe non-French-speaking parts. But SECAM in France and PAL everywhere else. But the basics are the same. So the NTSC, you've got 30 frames per second, and each frame consists of 2 fields, right? Even and odd fields. So basically, you have even lines at time t0, and then odd lines at a slightly later time, and then even lines, and then odd lines, etc. And that's what you see. And roughly speaking, if you just approximate this thing, 500 by 500 pixels per frame, and each frame having 30 frames a second, and each sample has R, G, and B values, and R, G, and B, the 3 color components, each one has 8 bits, that's 24 bits per sample. You end up getting 7.5 megasamples per second, each one 24 bits. So the number of bits you have for uncompressed television signal is a lot higher than what you would get for audio signal. Of course, all of these numbers are off, now that we have HDTV, right? You have flat screens, then you have 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, and you have 60 frames per second, and each pixel is 24 bits, so the numbers are huge. So automatically, when you deal with two-dimensional and three-dimensional signal processing, the volume of the data that you deal with is much larger than one-dimensional signal processing. For that reason alone, a major topic in multidimensional signal processing is image compression and video compression. You have to be able to reduce the sizes, or else you just overwhelm your computer. I mean, the other day I was doing a back-of-an-envelope calculation. Say users generate. I mean, why is it that now still image photo sharing has become a lot more popular and acceptable than before? Well, you buy your digital camera, you put it on a disk, you plug in the disk into your PC at home, and they're all there. And even then, uh, each picture is 1,000 by 1,000 pixels. It's not terrible, even after you compress it, it's not terribly easy to send all 50 pictures that you took, to your dad and mom in Los Angeles or wherever they live. It chews up a lot of space. Now think about video. If you took 30 seconds of uncompressed video, roughly speaking, at 720 by 480 resolutions, roughly speaking, is 1 gigabyte. For half the people at home, that automatically chews up their disk. And let's say you want to edit it. So each time you edit it, a new version gets saved. That's another gigabyte. And so the storage requirements for video, for example, goes up real fast, real quick. So there's a fundamental need to compress these signals just to be able to handle them. Put it on the PC, transfer it from the PC to somewhere else. And especially because at home, if you're connected with asymmetric lines like ADSL and cable, your uplink speed is much lower than your downlink. It's no more than 150 kilobits per second. So transferring data becomes quite a big challenge. As such, compression is a key issue in a lot of the multidimensional signal processing. The other thing is that the mathematics for multidimensional signal processing is not as complete as one-dimensional signal processing. And in fact, there's some parts of it that have shown for multidimensional signal processing not to be able to do what some of the things that you have been able to do in one-dimensional signal processing. Examples of these are as follows. First of all, one-dimensional systems are described by differential equations. So if you have an IIR filter, you have a difference equation, and in continuous time, a differential equation. In multi-dimensions, you have to deal with partial differential equations. Okay. Also, one of the things that makes things in two-dimensional signal processing much more difficult is that fundamental theorem of algebra does not hold in higher than one dimensions. And what is fundamental theorem of algebra? It's the idea that if you have a polynomial in one variable, you can factor it. If you have a polynomial of degree n, you can factor it into n simple factors of degree 1. That's well known. We all know how to do it. There's computer programs that does it for you. And what it results in is that if you've got a IIR filter, you can quickly find out by factoring by writing down the system function h of z as a polynomial in numerator and a polynomial in denominator. By factoring the denominator, you can easily figure out what the poles of the system are, and therefore you can easily check for things like stability. On the other hand, in two-dimensional signal processing, let's say for images, it's not that we haven't been able to figure out how we factor two-dimensional polynomials, but it's been shown that most two-dimensional polynomials are not factorable. And as a result, checking stability for two-dimensional IIR filters is extremely difficult. And it used to be one of the topics that I would cover maybe 10 years ago in this course. It's proven to be so useless that I don't even cover it. Basically, people in the literature have run aground with that, and almost all filtering that's done in digital image processing these days, or multidimensional signal processing, is FIR filtering, which has no stability issues associated with that. And I'll talk about what stability means just as a reminder to most of you in just a few minutes. So bear with me. So so that causes some major differences between 1D and multidimensional signal processing. And I also just talked about, so we talked about this third point, the IIR stability of filters. And I also talked about causality. The notion of causality really doesn't hold in two-dimensional signal processing. You can't say this pixel came before or after the other one, whereas for time signals, you could easily say that. Okay. So let me just, before I get into the mathematics and start talking about notations and various other things, let me quickly go over some examples of images that one encounters in practice. A little bit of history. This is on the top, figure 1.1 is example of one of the earliest pictures that was produced in 1921 from a coded tape by a telegraph printer. This is an example of a picture that was transmitted across the Atlantic from London to New York, again 1929 or so. But really, digital image processing took off around 60s. At JPL was Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena was one of the early places where image processing got started. A fellow by the name of Castleman did a lot of work there, and the images typically would come from the space. You have the space missions. They took some pictures and they send it down to Earth. So this is a first picture of the moon by a U.S. spacecraft, which was called Ranger 7. So as you can see, by now these pictures are quite routine. By the way, I don't know how many of you are following the stardust. Has anybody read about it in the newspapers recently? Anyone? Okay, you did. They made available approximately 1.5 million pictures. Now they're signing up volunteers. So it's basically, I have to know the details of it to say it properly, but basically they're trying to get samples of some particles from outer space, from the atmosphere of what planet was it, or what was it? Some sort of a comet. So essentially, the bottom line is we now have a canister that has about 45 or so good particles from an atmosphere of some comet, and the idea is that if we understand the nature of those particles, we can figure out the origin of life on Earth for human beings. And one of the things that scientists have discovered is that life on Earth didn't really start from Earth itself. It was what was brought to Earth by comets and other things, those particles that eventually got the thing going, that they had carbon dioxide or carbon or something that's needed by life for life to get started. But anyway, the interesting thing is that meanwhile, they also took 1.5 million pictures up when they were up there of this comet, and they're now signing up volunteers to systematically go over these 1.5 million pictures and detect the ones that have a particle. So actually, when I read that like a few days ago, I thought that would be a great class project for this class. Maybe I'll look into it some more to see. The data is becoming available on the web, but for volunteers to qualify, they have to pass a test. Basically, you have to look at an image and be able to detect there was a particle in there. And what strikes me is that why can't we automate that? Why can't we write using like basic image processing tools? So I'll keep you posted. I have the name of the scientist, and in fact, the guy is at Berkeley Space Science Lab, so he's not that far away. So we might be able to get access to that. In which case, that would be a really fun project to do during the semester in this course. You don't have to each write. It'll be a team effort if we end up doing that. So here's the examples of other images that are generated by other modalities. So on the upper left, what you have is a bone scan. Upper right, it's a PET, which is a kind of a medical image, positron emission tomography. C is a Cygnus loop, and D is a gamma radiation. X-ray image on upper left. Let's see. A circuit board on the right, an angiogram on right here. This is okay. Let me use the mouse to point instead of doing upper right, left, and other things. Okay. Okay. So this is a chest X-ray. This is a angiogram. This is a head CT. These are the eyes. Okay. This is a printed circuit board. It turns out a lot of image processing is used in inspection, both in integrated circuit field in semiconductor industry. The biggest company in that field is KLA-Tencor, which is somewhere in San Jose. These guys have to inspect the masks using higher resolution devices to make sure the masks for IC production don't have defects, because if they do, then everything is wasted. You've generated thousands of chips that don't function. And the other field that's important is inspecting circuit boards to make sure that once you build a circuit board for electronic devices like DVD players, this and that, the other, they're all functioning. So there's another example of that. And this is a example of a Cygnus loop again. This is examples of ultraviolet imaging. normal corn, and this is smut corn. This comes from W. Davidson in Florida State University. Here's examples of light microscopy images. My favorite here is the middle one, which is the cholesterol, magnified cholesterol 40 times. This is a microprocessor, as you would expect. Nickel oxide thin film used in semiconductor industry. Surface of an audio CD. That's kind of interesting. And here's an organic superconductor. So electron microscopes are another source of interesting imagery. Actually, one of the exciting fields these days in image processing is imaging, biological imaging of cells and molecules and stuff like that. So there's quite a bit of emphasis that's happening. Here's Landsat images. These are images that have been captured by satellites. And these are the different bands depending upon what wavelength you use, and the same area using different wavelengths kind of looks different. So as you all know, there's low-flying satellites that takes pictures, there's high-flying satellites, and there's all kinds of spying that goes on in the world. Like, we get to know just about what every country is doing, and now other countries have figured out how to send satellites up into space. They get to find out what their neighboring countries are doing. And how many of you are familiar with the Google Earth project? Okay, good. So if you haven't, just go to Google Earth, download it, and they've taken a bunch of images of Earth, and you can pretty much figure out, locate your home, where you live, and the neighborhood, etc. So there's a large repository of database of images, both from satellites, low-flying airplanes, and all kinds of other things. Also, images are used in weather centers. So this is a multispectral image of Hurricane Andrew, which I believe was one of the major ones. So this is, as you all know, this is called the eye of the hurricane, where the center of it is. Here's an infrared satellite image of the Americas. As you know, infrared looks at the heat sources. Infrared satellite images of the remaining populated part of the world. Here's some samples of manufactured goods often checked using digital image processing. We talked about that already. This is this is a circuit board. Pills, you can inspect it, just make sure that every one of these holes has a pill. You're filling up bottles. You want to make sure that the bottle is full and not empty. You're checking air bubbles in plastic, cereal, and also image of a intraocular implants. Actually, I don't know what that is. So you can use that in the manufacturing process to essentially figure out if things go wrong, or if a product is being produced properly. Actually, there's a lot of image processing also used in agricultural business, trying to make sure that the crops are healthy and figuring out what percentage of crops are, I don't know, corn, how much of it is this, how much of it is that. There's also a lot used in forestry. Last time I taught this course, we had a student from forestry department. They take pictures of forest, and using the heights of the trees, they try to determine how old the trees are and various other aspects of it. Here's some examples of images in the visual spectrum. Visual spectrum is the part that your eye sees. So there's a visual part, then there's infrared, and there's ultraviolet. Infrared is beyond red, where your eyes don't see, and ultraviolet is beyond violet, where your eyes don't see that. Here's a fingerprint on the upper left. This is a $100 bill, and here's some pictures of license plates as the cars are passing by, and I think in some transportation type applications. So as you know, there's camera enforced intersections where if you pass a red light, now they take your picture and they have the license plate number, and you get a ticket that way. So that's where some of these technologies use. There's a spaceborne radar image of mountains in southeast Tibet. Do we have anybody from Tibet? From China? Okay. Does that look approximately right? Yeah, okay. Here's some MRI images. We had, I think, one or two people who were interested in magnetic resonance imaging. Here's an example of a bone. So why is magnetic resonance imaging important? Why is it different from X-ray? Where X-ray can only detect the bones. Magnetic resonance imaging can be used to look at soft tissue. So on your knee, it can show the cartilage, it can show the ACL, MCL, and don't ask me what those stand for. ACL is, they're all ligaments. MCL is internal to your knee. ACL is external, and if you're not careful and you tear it, you'll be in excruciating pain probably for the rest of your life. Even though they can do surgeries, but you never really get fixed. Just from my own experience, I can tell you that. So you could see with X-rays, you could see the bones, but you can't see all the fine details with X-rays. So MRI has, by the way, MRI is a fairly new technology. When I was leaving graduate school, it was just getting adopted. 1988 or so is where you could finally walk into a center and say, I want to have an MRI done, and you pop $1,000 and they do it. And unfortunately, the price hasn't come down over the last 20 years. It's still $1,000 per pop of MRI. The machines are allocated, half-hour slots, and they need to generate, I don't know, $30,000 per machine per day to pay the cost of it over the years. On the right, what you see is an MRI of a spine, and that's extremely useful to figure out what your discs are doing. If the discs are protruded, they're touching the spinal canal, whether you have stenosis, or whether you have arthritis, or whether you have chipped discs, the loose pieces hanging around your spinal canal. So these are soft tissues, and what MRI does, it's imaging the hydrogen density. And why hydrogen? Well, because most of your body is made of water, and so your discs are made of water. So MRI, by mapping the hydrogen density, is essentially mapping the water density. That's how it distinguishes soft tissues from each other. That's how you figure out what the anatomy is doing. Here is some NASA pictures of a pulsar using gamma as detectors, X-ray detectors, optical, infrared, and finally radio. It's all the same thing, but looking at it at different wavelengths. So that field, by the way, it's called multispectral imaging. That means you're looking at the same thing, but at different spectral bands, the images look different. And by combining them, you can make conclusions that you wouldn't be able to do by just looking at one of them. So it's called multispectral or hyperspectral imaging. Okay. Here's some ultrasound pictures. Again, there's a lot of examples from medical field. This is a baby right here. This is a baby upside down. Here's thyroids. Actually, I don't know which one of these is a thyroid, and this is some muscles. And here's an SEM image, scanning electron micrograph. How many of you have worked in the micro lab and have played with SEMs or taken SEMs? Yeah. Okay. So on the 4th floor of Corey Hall, we have a micro lab where people fabricate, structures or transistors or circuits or whatever. And one of the main tools they use is scanning electron micrograph. That's after you build, let's say, a new kind of transistor. What was the thing that Cheng-Ming Wu and Sujay and those guys invented? FinFET, right? Now you want to take a three-dimensional picture of it and show it to the rest of the world. This is how this new transistor we invented looks like, FinFET, and you use SEM to do that. Or with lithography research, you want to show, three-dimensional depth on an integrated circuit. You shoot electrons and you collect the reflections of it, and that's how you build the image. So the point here is that there's many ways and many modalities where you can take pictures of things. Here's some man-made images. These two are fractal images, although they're not the best fractal images I saw. So we'll talk about fractal compression towards the end of the course, but fractals are basically self-similar images. And many years ago, Barnsley over at Georgia Tech made fractal image processing popular and fractal compression popular. It turns out as a compression technique, it's kind of died off, and it didn't really hold up to its promise. The classic case was when Barnsley took a sunflower field, a picture of a sunflower field, and he compressed it with fractal compression, and he showed very good ratio. And then somebody said, okay, now take that picture, put an airplane up there, now compress it. And he could never do that because the airplane doesn't have self-similarity properties. The sunflower field did, because the flowers are self-similar. So it's still a field that people do research. You still see papers in ICIP, people talking about it, but it didn't really hold up to its promise. So these are two man-made images, and these are images of objects that were generated using computer graphics. Okay, so you get a 3D model, you render it from a particular view, and then you can go around it and view it from multiple angles. So images are sometimes even generated by us through a C program, right? That we just talked about. Okay, so here's kind of the outline of what at least Gonzalez and Wood sees. We don't really follow these precisely, but it's a good picture to take a look at anyway. These are kind of steps that one takes in order to generate images. So the output of all these boxes are imagery. Image acquisition, image enhancement. Image enhancement means what? You start with an image, and you want to enhance something in it. It was too dark, and you want to re-equalize, for example, the histogram so that you can see things better. That's an example of an image enhancement. Restoration, something has gone wrong with the picture. The classic example, the Hubble telescope. It took pictures that were blurred. We couldn't figure out what's going on. That was after tens of millions of dollars spent to send the thing up there. So what do? You process it to restore it, to undo a degradation that happened to it. Then there's color image processing, wavelets and multi-resolution processing it can be used for both processing images to do other things or for compression. And then there's compression itself using various techniques, discrete cosine transform, wavelets, this, that, and the other. Morphological processing, which is yet another way of cleaning up images or processing images to get a new image. These are some examples of techniques that allows us to extract some attribute or some information about an image. Like you might do morphological processing in order to not only just generate a new image after you've done closure operations or opening or whatever, but you might want to extract something about it. How many objects were in the scene? Segmentation. You start with an image, you divide it into segments. That's a classic field. Many, many man-years of research has gone into that. And in fact, David Forsyth and Jitendra Malik in our computer vision department here have done a lot of good work. If you look at the ERL research summary book, I think was it last year or the year before, they had a picture of a zebra and they had done a nice segmentation of it. Then there's representation and description, and finally there's object recognition. These are higher level computer vision stuff. We probably won't get a chance to touch upon these too much, but of course if you want to do your project on these, you're more than welcome to do so. I think that's about it. I'm gonna stop now. I actually will not get into talking about. I was going to talk about two-dimensional sequences and delta functions and linear shift invariant systems and stuff like that. I won't do that today because we're out of time, and I can. It's much better to start it next time. Let me pause here. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. So I'll see you all Friday, 12:30 to 2.
bus at like 7:30. It was just pouring rain. So I was looking forward. It was like waiting for the coming like fresh break. I was wondering what it was like. It wasn't raining. It was weird. Yeah, and then I got it. It was beautiful. It was kind of everything. So actually, it didn't rain. My position here. Oh yeah, I think like that. Yeah. So I guess it's kind of made to my yesterday. No, I can't say that. Yeah, I think so. I think it would be fun just to nice. You know, I like it. I feel like even when it's tough to get up, I like getting up and just start your day. Start your day. Also, I don't really do anything like morning and ready and preparing to take breaks. I'm not going to the class yet. It's really good class. It's like on computational biology. I don't like that he actually thinks it's I think it's really nice to do. Go to your time. And then, you know, true English. 3 pieces. That's your level pieces. Oh, what's it? No. Pero I think I was he's already taken a while. He's doing my music together. I mean, they have some TV, but most of the time it's really expensive. Yeah, but I just wanted to see because you have lots of like these are actually Mario. That's really stupid. Yeah, some people have driving very fast. Some people drive fine actually. So which one is what? I don't like it. I actually get it. How long is it? How many copies do you have? Especially this. Oh, it's not that. That's a deal. Yeah, I know it's the first it's not the thing, but it's not just but he's one of these guys. Oh, your birthday, you're probably so smart. So he said something like, yeah, even if you have it at the end background, you're smart. You might get a doctor, so it's kind of happy if you're what else we think? What else do I know? There's some projects. Like people have